Issue 123. We start out with Sonic asking Mina what she's doing in front of the old mansion after we see Mina once again thinking about how she's in love with Sonic, which is really starting to feel more like a single-minded obsession Amy Rose style at this point since he's all she thinks about anymore. I really hope this is just a phase. She tells him nervously that she came to help him and that she impulsively left the other freedom fighters and came here alone. Why does she call her super speed her mongoose speed when super speed isn't an iconic trait of the mongoose? Sonic admits that they're both impulsive, and after Mina points out that they have a lot in common, Sonic merely rudely snarks that they don't have any backup. Why the hell would he think he needs backup when he's Sonic the Hedgehog? I probably don't need to remind you at this point of how powerful he is. I feel pretty sorry for Mina here. She's not being treated very well. And also, why is Sonic just assuming he won't have any backup when he saw the king tell the freedom fighters where Sally was? Fortunately, when Mina says she was just following Sonic's lead, Sonic admits, "My bad," and seems to not be mad at her anymore. Then we cut to Sally, who thinks, well, here goes to nothing, making me wonder what kind of plan she's got in store. And she for some reason needs Fang to run it by her again while he kidnapped her, even though the answer is pretty obvious. Also, she's doing this while Fang's playing the piano. Huh, I never knew he could do that. That's a little bit of hidden depths there. I wonder if his good twin in Anti-Mobius is a pianist, and used that to make an honest living. Then it turns out Sally's plan is to be manipulating. And since we saw her show this rare side of her when she manipulated Snively into reversing Sonic's "his speed makes him older" curse, this makes sense. She mocks his plan, saying that she heard a lot about Fang, and then lies to him that if he lets her join his gang, she could keep pretending to be a hostage and her parents could keep paying him for a safe return, as opposed to giving up on Fang after the first time to get their daughter back and simply sending people to save her like Fang should have expected to happen. Then after she's looked at in shock because she's got such a goody-goody perfect reputation, Sally says, "Do you know what it's like having all of your wealth controlled by your parents? It's awful! This would be my chance to get back at them." So is this how the evil twin of Sally got involved in her gang? Did Patch and Boomer kidnap her for ransom and Alicia decided to join them despite her parents? I love seeing the side of Sally, but it just makes me wish I got to see more of Alicia. She could have been a great villain, and Sally proves it. Although I fail to see what she has to gain from this right now. Fang says that he didn't know she had all this teenage resentment towards the Rents. I like the teenage there. He says that he feels her pain, providing a tiny bit of backstory for him as it implies that he was rebellious against his parents too, and maybe that's why he became a criminal. And then, I have no idea what's supposed to be happening in this panel whatsoever. I assume Sally hit Fang? But if that was her plan, to get his guard down so she could attack him, then why didn't she do it right away? He already had his guard down. He was playing the piano. She could have gotten his purple gun back then. I mean, he had his back turned and everything. Then Sally keeps her cool despite weapons being pointed at her, saying calmly to put those weapons down nice and slow. This bottling up whatever anxiety she's having at the moment saves her life, although I find it hard to believe that they wouldn't just shoot her, especially while she was in the middle of a sentence. She could still serve as a hostage dead. They'd still send the money, would they? Then we cut to Sonic telling Mina at the mansion that if they split up, they can cover the most ground in the smallest amount of time with their super speed. And this doesn't seem like a bad idea because they can both run really quickly, so they'd scour the mansion in like 2 seconds, not being away from each other for that long. Mina notices Sonic put his hand on her shoulder because he cares about her, and Sonic explains that if she finds Sally first, she shouldn't do anything reckless and instead come get Sonic as fast as she can. Mina then creeps me out, thinking that she'd do anything to prove her love to him, which sounds like something an insane Yandere would be written to say. And that's coming from someone who supports Mina being with Sonic more than with Sally. After Sally's escape, she dodges some gunshots because the other differently colored weasels finally snapped out of it and decided to fire at her. Unfortunately for her, those gunshots tell Sonic and Mina to go in their general direction. One of the goons tells her not to make them do something stupid, so if they acknowledge that's stupid, why do it? Sally ends up backed into a corner with no ammo left. Oh please, as if she was going to intentionally shoot any of them anyways. She probably just wasted all of them. As expected, Sonic saves her in time, and Sally gives him an overjoyed hug, saying that he always saves her. Sally tells Sonic that she loves him in front of Mina, and Sonic's brilliant response is to simply say, "I know." Yeesh, that's not a good response. Doesn't that end relationships? Wasn't there an episode of Seinfeld about this? But somehow, logic takes a back seat and Sally kisses him on the cheek instead, just despite the fact that she's been all anxious and worried about Sonic moving on to Mina. So you'd think the "I know" response would be the last straw. Not to mention the fact that even after saying she loves him, all she does is give him another meager kiss on the cheek. Look out, Padme and Anakin, we have a new couple in town. This is romantic chemistry. Seriously, they show realistic guns whenever they want now, but actual kissing is too much for the kiddies. The only way this makes sense is that Sally heard Sonic say that he loved her in issue 50, which I suspected all along. So it wouldn't matter him saying "I know" because she already knows that he loves her. But that doesn't change the fact that all this Mina stuff, you think "I know" would be the last straw. Naturally, Mina is heartbroken at seeing this, and is sympathetic in her reaction as she just runs away crying, thinking about how out of the loop she's been to not know Sonic and Sally were together, rather than lashing out at anyone. Mina insists that she'd still do anything for Sonic in spite of this, proving her loyalty. And meanwhile, Sonic and Sally are walking away holding hands for once, while Fang sneaks up behind them, serving as a reverse Chekhov's gun because last time we saw him, he was toppled over thanks to Sally. Surprisingly, it's Mina who takes the shot, passing out while telling Sonic that she loves him. And Fang's cheerful reaction here is really confusing because his whole plan was to kill the princess as revenge for what she did. But instead he's all cheerful about hitting the wrong target. He really doesn't care? But it's not even implied that he ran out of ammo. What? I mean, he has to have run out of ammo, or otherwise he would have just shot Sally and then everyone else. And surprisingly again, she wakes up at the hospital and tells Sonic that Wee Mongoose is healed pretty quickly. Well, that was convenient. Why is Sonic calling her a kid? How old is she? Isn't she the same age as him? Yeah, she is. I mean, they go to the same class in school. That means they're the same age. Sonic's still looking serious. Says that while what she did today seemed dumb to him for some reason, it was also brave and cool at the same time. Fortunately, Sally is polite to her even though she told Sonic she was in love with him, although that makes perfect sense considering she literally just saved her life. Then the next story, we see Knuckles and Sally as childhood friends again, with Sally saying that she spends more time learning to be a princess than she does spending time with her friends. Then it's revealed out of complete nowhere that according to Aurora, Knuckles used to be quite smitten with the princess. Why is Knuckles surprised they can't see him? One, he's behind them, and two, you'd think he'd be used to this rule by now. Aurora explains that Knuckles is reliving his past experiences in life. I don't see the point of this. It's not like he's being made to relive every single time he made someone happy from their perspective, feeling their joy as a part of a heaven, so what the hell's the point if he's not reliving every single memory? Why is she wasting her time with this? And you know what? More pointless recap. I'm fine with Penders and Knuckles for the most part, right now at least, but seeing nothing but worthless recap and time wasting pretending Knuckles is dead for good shit is enough to get on my nerves, and make even me call this a terrible story arc, and not just because Knuckles is green. This giant recap of every significant event in Knuckles' life is the recap machine issue all over again. I really wish I knew if this was the product of executive meddling or not to catch the readers up on Knuckles, because if it is, then I wouldn't feel right about blaming the writer for it. By the way, why the hell in universe is Knuckles talking in narration at all? Aurora already knows this, Knuckles already knows it, they're not exactly close friends, so what's with the reminiscing? And again, where's her comments? It just makes it awkward. Also, it's really glaring when in a story dedicated to recaps they get the outfit of a character in a past flashback wrong. Knuckles' mother very clearly wasn't wearing that when she saw him for the first time in years. In fact, with her black outfit, I assumed she was laying down at first glance. And the story ends with the recap still not being fucking over. Why was the story even published? It adds almost nothing. In the next story, which is probably actually good, Sonic wakes up one morning to discover that Mutsuki is missing, and so is the entirety of the Robians. All of this is narration, by the way. 3 weeks later, Sonic found Mutsuki de-roboticized, finally looking like an acceptable pet for once. About time. He's so cute. And slowly, over the following weeks, the other Robians reappeared, also changed back, and with no memory of how this mass metamorphosis had occurred for some reason. I guess they kept them unconscious while they were unroboticized and didn't wake them up until they were long away from that person. Unfortunately, Jules was the only one who came back still a robot, and Chuck was unable to find a cure. Makes sense, because if even the person who cured everyone else couldn't cure Jules, what makes Chuck think he could? Maybe it's because... No, that doesn't make sense, because I'm sure all of the Robians had plenty of modifications made to their metal. And that's exactly why Chuck couldn't deroboticize them in the first place after the whole Ultimate Annihilator business. So why would Jules be way harder to deroboticize than everybody else? Sonic then shows up weeks later at Eggman asking him why he deroboticized everyone except for his dad, since that made his dad feel like a real outcast. Naturally, Eggman says, "Don't be stupid! What makes you think I changed any of them back in the first place?" The story ends with Sonic swearing to find out who caused this miracle to happen, and I take back the probably actually good part, because while I'm pretty relieved that this mass deroboticization happened, especially since Sonic's mother and uncle finally have a good design, albeit with the wrong blue color for Sonic's mother, making her look way too much like Sonic, I fucking hated how the story was mostly narration. It made me feel completely detached from everything that was going on, and it made what was happening feel incredibly arbitrary, and it helped contribute to my assumption that this was all a dream at first. Would it have killed them to put dialogue in? Like during the comforting scene where Mina was crying. Would it have killed them to have the characters actually talk? All that narration doesn't pull me in, it felt too fiction-y and meta. I don't know what they were thinking. At the very least, this is probably going to lead into a story that actually will explain what's going on. But I've read up to 127 at the time of this recording, and I still don't know who did this. So I guess that's my summary right there. The story was written by Carl Bullers, and it just made me angry because of the format, and the lack of explanation of why this happened. But the plot is fine. It'll become much better once I actually find out what caused the deroboticizations. My guess is a wizard did it. What took Merlin so long? Wait, can't you only make illusions? And levitate tails? The first story was by Carl Bullers as well, and involved Sonic and Mina saving Sally from a hostage situation. I really liked Sally's cleverly making up a lie to fool Fang, like she's smart and creative enough to think of a logical explanation for why she'd want to be evil and join their gang. It really made me wish that I could just see more of her evil twin, because maybe she was like that. I wish that in addition to seeing so much of the Kinna's backstories, although I like that too, we could also get some of that attention shed on the evil twins' backstories. That is way more interesting. Problem is, her whole manipulation is totally pointless, because she could have just hit Fang right away if she wanted to steal his gun and escape. He was already vulnerable. He was playing the piano with his back turned to her. At the end of it all, Sally gets saved from a tight situation by Sonic, and finally says that she loves him after all this time of keeping her feelings for him totally hidden. To which Sonic's response is the deadly, "I know." But somehow that doesn't get him in trouble with his increasingly stressed out girlfriend. It only breaks Mina's heart. But fortunately not her loyalty, as she saves the day by taking a bullet for Sally, since apparently mongooses heal faster. Hey, she has super speed, why not another superpower? With no spin dash to take advantage of the speed, she kinda needs it. So I'm glad Mina got to do something really useful to help. She was almost completely redundant otherwise. And while she did tell Sonic she loved him right in front of his jealous girlfriend, it was after she saved that girl's life, so they called it even. And the second story, by Ken Penders of course, was absolute garbage, being nothing but recapping about stuff we already know. All it tells us is two things. One, the Knuckles actually used to have a crush on Sally, which makes me think of some other alternate universes where he and Sally got together to have an actually compatible couple. You know, aside from the Sailor Moon universe. And two, well, what was that other thing of interest? Oh yeah, I think it was Knuckles' mom wearing the wrong outfit? Yeah, that's pretty sad. Basically, this whole story was nothing but a recap machine episode for Knuckles. When I was expecting that Knuckles would be sent home alive by Aurora an issue ago. As it stands, it never should have been published in the first place. That's coming from someone who loves the Knuckles comics, so there's no bias against the writer here. I don't care who wrote this padding. It just sucks.